TC Spiritual Shepherd, welcome back, y'all. Today we're going to be getting into Rome. I'm going to be getting into Rome and a multitude of other things. Let me grab a marker. I'm going to grab a fresh one. All right. So ultimately, y'all, this is a very big thing that not a lot of people have really thought of. Got a new sticker up. It's my Rastafarian one. It's also to claim, my ministry. So then to the public, everybody knows what my ministry is. And how I'm administered. I'm also a minister. I have a card for that. And I'm Rastafarian. A Rastafarian minister. It's just a denomination of Christianity, etc. So let's really jump into this, okay? Let's really jump into this. Rome. Okay. We'll even just do a regular E for you guys. Make it easier. Rome. Okay. The Americas. Or America, okay? And referably, not technically America, the land is not owned. America, the land is not owned. But U.S. Corp, which is the corporation, is owned and publicized. All right. It's just like in Star Wars when the clones were being developed and grown, and it took time to develop them, and there was a bad batch. The bad batch is like referring to somebody like me, who was born in it and they didn't even know any different, and then they woke up one day and they saw it. And then they started opening their eye more, and ultimately they woke up from this and they started living as the living being and in their proper jurisdiction. Then they claimed this business, because that's what it is. So the all caps name is the business. The all caps name is the business, is the sole proprietorship or the individual, what you're individuated from something, okay? Indivisible from something. Something owns you. All caps name. That's why I always say don't say like individual. Don't say a lot of different things. I'm a one of one. I'm one of a kind. It's not going to be anyone else like me. Might be similar, but I'm a one of one. So we all have this availability too. So that's actually what I'm here to teach. So it's not about arrogance, guys. It's not about I'm a one of one and you're not. I'm a one of one. You're definitely not. Okay. I'm a one of one. You're definitely not. It's not like that. No, it's not like that. It's not like that. What it actually really is I'm a one of one, and I could teach you how I became it. And that could give you realizations on how you could become it and how you can already realize it because you already are one. The all caps name is the business. Is the biz. All right. Is the business. Rome, the eagle. So the Roman eagle. All right. That's pretty good. The Roman eagle, all right, is ultimately, it has a staff too. So the staff, and it has like all these different emblems on it. With the spear. All right. So that's like what the Roman staff would look like. All right. There's also something known as for a gladiator who's a slave. A gladiator is a slave. A gladiator is a slave. What does this mean? This means someone is watching your life from a bigger point of view and being entertained by it, bro. You are a gladiator. You are a gladiator. And it's crazy. So this is what I'm saying. You are this. And this is exactly what you are. We all are it, technically. And we have different roles because we give ourselves different roles. We're good at different things. Everyone is. So all caps name. The U.S. corporation. So this is a franchise. This is a franchise of it. So you're a franchise. And then this also goes back to the Vatican. So what is the bond note tied to? It's tied to the soul, and the sole proprietor. So that's what I'm saying is it's indivisible from it until what? You claim ownership over it. Okay, so when you have controlling interest, when you have controlling interest, that's where it changes. All right. So, for instance, America, the land, cannot be owned. All right. They'll just try to pillage it and do all this other stuff, but it can't be owned. Okay. The U.S. corporation is owned. Okay. And so it has names, it has surety bonds in private. It's pretty much every time that you have a birth certificate, a public birth certificate, that's monetized. And then that is an instrument that could be used and utilized via the private sectors. Just really what it is. And so that's how it cultivates. And so when you in the private sector come from the private sector and secure yourself, or who you thought yourself was, but you never technically were. The all caps name is not necessarily you. It's the business made on behalf of you because you exist, but that doesn't mean that it's actually you. It's something different. That's what I'm saying. It's something different. So when you secure that because it was made in your name, not only do you get those funds and you're able to, which also doesn't matter at some point. Okay. It really doesn't. All right. And so what it really is when you have controlling interest in it, is that you are not the one that is held down. You're not the one who's held down. You're not the one who's held into that trust per se. You have a trust of your own. Pardon me. Okay. So this is what I'm going to get into, guys. All right. So when you have controlling interest in your what? This is a secured party creditor. You're a creditor. You're not a debtor anymore. So you've always been the creditor, but then they have done the flip contract to create you are the debtor and they are the creditor. It's crazy. So this is like freeing your soul, and this is like healing yourself and freeing yourself. So the process of this, I'm going to kind of get into this, and I get into Spartacus, and I get into the Civil Wars. I believe that's what they're called, the Civil Wars. There's Civil Wars. There's Civil Wars, and there was three of them, and one was led by Spartacus, because I am Spartacus. The real Spartacus. I am Spartacus. Oh, he's Spartacus too, and she's Spartacus too. That's a different type of vibe. But you don't see it yet, but that's really what it is. We're all turning into each other. We're all standing firm, standing 10 toes down, firm upon the groundation. We're standing firm. We're standing steadfast, immovable, like Mount Kilimanjaro, like a pillar. We are standing firm. All right. So ultimately, when you have become the creditor, which you could do this process where people through the power of attorney, do this on behalf and whatnot. But then there's eventually when you start to do it yourself, when you actually truly do it yourself. And what I mean is that you have the knowledge to be able to do it. And so then therefore you know what it really is. And so you only will do this if you are knowledgeable enough or want to learn and go down this path to be able to learn, to be able to do it. And it's not as crazy and not as difficult as possible. It's just like eventually you just want to be able to kind of do similar habits. You know what your habits are. Your habits are going to change because you're going to go through a lot of learning and a lot of lessons, but you do want to keep certain habits that you do enjoy. And you might evolve out of them too. So there's a maturity that comes with that. But ultimately, the habits that you want to develop is you do want to make your life easier. So you want to be able to provide for yourself throughout retirement. the whole thing is that you start to put effort into longevity in your life and training people, educating people, training people on this and whatnot. And there's so many different types of things. And I'm going to get into some of these people. Like I'm going to get into like Marcus Crassus. There's not enough on Marcus Crassus. I'm going to get into Spartacus himself. I'm going to get into Spartacus's 5 direct connections. I'm going to start posting more videos on my IG about Spartacus and the Roman civil wars and all these different types of things, because it's innate, bro. It's innate within that system because the system's corrupt. And it's made upon the jurisdiction of the backs of the people to suck them dry like parasites, because that's what it is. And it's directly connected to those types of people because that's exactly what they do. That's exactly what they do. They're just like that. That's what they do. They participate in those types of things. So the whole thing about this is that we are setting a new standard. We're setting a new groundation. It's out with the old, in with the new. That's what it is. It is the year of the one. It is the new creation. It is the 111. It is the transformation. Okay. It is the transformation. It's 11:11. So right now we're hitting 11 and 44 seconds. So, powerful times that we are putting the one into action. We're putting the one into doing. We're putting the one into taking and creating good activity, good action. Okay. So this is where I get into that most people would not talk down what they would talk down if they were to educate themselves enough on what the opposing opinion would be from what they're at. That would help you have a more open mind, which is the real thing, is to have a neutral opinion. It doesn't necessarily matter, does it? Does it matter if I weigh or not? That's the power. That's where the power is. It's like the I am is just stillness. It's beingness. It's silence. It's powerful. It's just innate. It's innate in a being. It's innate in a being, and you can't take it away from them because they're the ones who truly went down the path and discovered it and developed it. They went on the fool's journey to become the magi. They went on the fool's journey to become the magi, and they learned so much along the way, and they're grateful for the path that they're on. Seriously, I have so much to say. I don't even feel like I could say it all. And I'm so grateful. So I just want you guys to know that I feel like I have so much to say. I have so much to say. And I don't know if I have, but I do have. I already do know this. I do have it. I do have the availability to say all the words that I've ever been meaning to say. And I've been meaning to say a lot. And 2, I know I talk a lot. I know I speak a lot. I know I preach a lot. And I'm doing my best on my part to live in accordance, not only with the Lord, the Most High, also connecting with nature and connecting with oneness in the world, unison of the world, unity of the world, by living a higher purpose. Okay, not participating in the illusion of duality, not participating in the illusion of separation, not participating in the illusion of choice, any of things like this, not participating in any of these. And then with the illusion of choice too, with flip contracts, and then reverse flip contracts with illusion of choice, not going to participate in any of those. I'm cool off that. Thank you very much. Cool off that very, very much. Thank you. And so the process is that by stepping into your powers is by reimagining and imagining better ways and more creative ways to become even more creative and even more better, by allowing things to be, and by stepping into beingness and stepping into solitude and patience and kindness and gratitude, and realizing too, like forgiving yourself, forgiving others, being compassionate towards yourself, your programming, your genetics, like all these different types of things. It doesn't necessarily matter. Like some people will, like I have to get into these things because there are some people who it's like self-sabotage, self-hatred, things like this. And so in those processes, it's all about love, compassion, forgiveness. It's all about realizing that you are kind of set up for failure, low key. And 2, like, it'll make you a better successor. It'll make you create better successors from you. I'm going to be honest, because you learn so much failure. Failure is one of life's greatest lessons. Life's greatest teachers is failure. And so when you learn to fail, you also learn how to succeed better, easier, more efficiently, more effectively, more effortlessly. Okay. Things like this, that there is so much empowerment and development that is cultivated, that you are reaping the light vibrational frequencies of what you've sown, that you've sown these, like you sown this in a dark space, in a dark room, and it blossomed and it bloomed up into a flower. It blossomed into a flower. It bloomed into a flower. Okay. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. All right. So Rome, they don't want you to realize this. Okay. So I don't want you to realize this because they're like, well, there's a lot of energy in this being's a battery. Think of it like the Matrix, because that's kind of what it is like human beings are no longer born. They're grown. Let it sink in. They're not born. They're grown. It's just like breeding cows and pigs and all these other different things. It's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. They're breeding them just like they're breeding human beings, because there's beings that we've contacted that are beyond our dimension and beyond our comprehension, beyond our dimension, beyond our comprehension. And one being I would say that we refer to is Christ, beyond our dimension. Okay, beyond the dimensionality of our mind. It's out of mind. All right, out of sight, out of mind, without a doubt. Okay, without a doubt, without a doubting Thomas. All right, that's what I'm saying, is that you are starting to awaken to this. And so that's exactly what Christ would also say too. He would tear down the structures of the political government. He would tear down the structures of the dogmatic religion. And he'd say, like, breath is spirit. Ruach is spirit. Learn different languages. Learn the original language. Stop speaking in this type of language. You came from this language, but you have to remain speaking this language. And I'm not saying or making you feel guilty that you've spoken a language for 50 years or whatever, or 30 years. But I'm saying you can also branch out. There's more intellect, more knowledge than ever to be able to develop and study language, learn them quicker, learn them more efficiently, and to like more ancient ones. Like I feel like the reason why I probably can only speak so-called English, I can read other languages, I can read them, but I can't necessarily write them, or I can't necessarily, I mean, I can write some of them, but I can maybe fluently, or maybe comprehensively, or apprehensionally. But the development of this is that when we start to realize that we can blossom ourselves, we start to feed our own water. We start to feed ourselves our own water, which is what? Self-security. It's self inquiry, self-assurity, self-assurance, a surety bond. You are sure. You're sure. You are, now that I'm sure, it's now that I got it done, now that I'm handled, now that I'm set. I already know I'm set. Okay. It's in the already happening. It's in the already happening, because it's already happening in the happening already. All right, let's keep going. So the main thing that, and two, a lot of people will like tune out, because I'm just trying to give you guys like, so I'm going to talk about the spear, and I'm going to talk about this like stuff too, but don't tune out. Like, let me cook, listen, enjoy yourself, get some popcorn, enjoy yourself. All right. So this is exactly what the spear will look like. And they'll have a big ball right here. And then sometimes they'll even have like an arrow or like a thing on the end like that. All right. And then there'll be like different designs and stuff. And two, like, you know, and that just looks like a caduceus, obviously. But that's what I'm saying is like they'll do stuff like that. Okay. And then people like this, these are known as the people who are leading the military, and people who, and two, these types of things are like regimes and like those are bad words. Do not like those words. Okay. And stuff like that, because this is exactly what I'm talking about. So the whole process of this is that when you realize this, Spartacus realized this. Eventually, he was the one who regained the scepter. So he regained the scepter when he went through the civil wars. He killed enough people because he was doing it out of selfless ambition, I guess you could say, not selfish ambition, but selfless ambitions, and really trying to save people who were like his wife, etc. All right. So ultimately, this whole thing is talking about like this scepter represents a certain thing, and then there's people who are in charge of like 10 of these scepters, or 10 people who have these scepters, is what I mean. And that's how they would form the hierarchy. Like this one would be a high general or a low general or whatever type of general, whatever. You see what I'm saying? So the whole process of this is exactly what I'm saying, is that when you see this, you can't unsee it. Like all of the architecture is scepters. So then lightning can hit it. Okay. And then there's all these pillars. All right. So there's all these pillars, and then there's all this sacred geometry all around it. And then there's like these scepters too, which literally would attract electricity because there's something underground. There's something out of frame. So when that whole thing goes down, then there's either a duplicate. It's the exact same thing, which it would be a spark plug, or it'd be a free energy system. It's a free energy system. It would get electricity from the atmosphere and it'd send it down to the lower parts, and then there would be beings inside of the earth. And that's, we've proven this already. We've already proven this. There's being inside the earth, just like there's living beings inside of you. And these are higher vibrational beings. And then they're also on the outskirts of what you'd say like flat earth is, or the Arctic or Antarctica and beyond, in Mount Zion, because it's inside the earth. You see what Mount Zion is? It's a freaking black hole. It's a portal. It looks like a donut. That's what Mount Zion is. That's what we would consider the highest point of the North Pole. We call it Mount Zion. We call it Mount Zion, y'all. Like, I'm not tripping. Like, everyone thinks I'm tripping. People say, go get a job, shut your mouth, whatever it is. Whatever it is. But when you come upon a knowledge that you know the Most High has blessed you up with, that has given you something to rise upon, that has given you a groundation and a foundation to be able to cause so much elevation and evolution in your life for the positive of not only yourself, but your entire family, your entire friends, all of them, your peer group, your tribe. This is what I'm saying. Is okay, so then too, they have contracts. So they have contracts. Okay, so it'd be like a trust contract, or like, you know what I'm saying? There's different contracts. And at the end, there's a signature. So, and you'd have to sign it. And normally you'll put 1-308, all rights reserved, UCC 1-308. You could say that. And then there's all these different words on it. All right. So the trust contract, then there's the signature at the end, 1-308. Okay. So all this is that you have a trust and you've established something, and then you've given someone notice. So there's a third party. You have to have a third party, a witness. So in courts and stuff like this. So that's exactly the first thing that you have to do, is you follow the law. You become in gnosis, in knowledge of the law. You become in good standing. You become in upright standing, which is what we refer to. Everything's ecclesiastical. Everything ultimately goes back to ecclesiastical. And they try to pull strings this way. And that's why it looks corrupt. That's why all this type of stuff is like that, because you have to see that like there is an empowerment when you know this stuff, and you bring people, you help people, you save people, you help people. You know what I mean? And so this type of process is that like you have all these different types of things. This is a free energy unit, which is the 1800s, which is what time? When Nikola Tesla was alive. Free energy units. He was studying this. Was he the only one studying this? I don't know. Was he the one who created it because he was the most famous person to do it? Who knows? Maybe there were people who were like average, normal people who just hid from the matrix, who knew this type of knowledge too. And it was just so knowledgeable to them. Tartaria and the 1600, 1700, 1800. I'm almost positive Tartaria. Then there's a great reset. Okay. Or there's and two, it's like a mud flood or the death ray, Nikola Tesla death ray, where they'll just like energy beam things, false flag things, like create stuff like this. And this is kind of what I'm saying is like, I'm just giving you guys like a mindset about like what really are you doing? What really are you like setting up? How are you really doing this? Okay, because a lot of people don't necessarily realize this. They don't see that that they're participating in this. They've never known that they're participating in this, but then once they find out, they don't necessarily feel like they want to do anything about it, or they just want to do the bare minimum. And two, like if you're acceptable with the bare minimum, the minimum you're going to get is bare. And it's just fact. Like if you are willing to accept the bare minimum, the minimum you're going to get is bare. Okay. And so most thing that you're going to get is nothing at all. And so the whole thing about this is that you step out of that. You step out of that box. You step maybe even out of that tesseract. Maybe you thought you can't do anything about it, but you can. You can change your mind. You can change and adapt your mind and change what your habits are. You can change your behaviors, your being, and your happiness in your mind by you changing, I have this rather than I don't have this. You're going to start to create new pathways in your body, whether it's neuronal or through your neurons, okay, neurally, and then two, whether it's emotionally or mentally, anything like this. All right. So the whole process of this is that Rome is America. Because because the eagle, bro, the eagle too, they just change the trust. They just change the location. That's all they do. Just change the location. And two, technically they don't even do that because they're still staying in their buildings. They're still staying in the buildings that they've used through those times. And this is directly connected to all of the weird stuff. All the weird stuff is connected to this. And that this is how they harness that energy and whatever. But when they come out with stuff like that, you also have to make moves. You also have to so-called capitalize on that, because that is where we push the force into our favor. We push the balance into our favor. Okay? So 80-20 is great. 90-10 is great. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. All right? So Rome is America, and they just changed the location. And two, London and the Vatican. So they're all established through trust, flip contracts, buying things, selling things. And so you go to the dock. You go to the dock. Your mom, she's a business, has a product created. She created a product for 9 months. She incubated a product for 9 months. But instead of her, because she doesn't know what contract law is, or she doesn't know what business trust law is, because it 1880s, and beyond that, whether people knew whether they were educated or not, why was it so much that people were to not be educated? Why was it so-called important to not educate? Why? Okay, this is exactly what I'm saying. And so when you create a birth certificate, so your birth certificate is a bond. It's an insurance, life insurance indemnity bond. And so it's an indemnity bond backed by life insurance, and it insures that being's life. So it's an insurity or insurity, a surety. It's an insurity of that life. So with that name on it, which would be the beneficiary of that said birth certificate. So what you really want to do is create a private birth record. You want a private birth record, but ultimately your parents did a birth certificate or certificate of live birth. And what happened was that bond note went to the local and state governments. And then eventually the federal government made an even bigger birth certificate. And then from there, that had communication with directly with DC, directly with the IRS, directly with decentralized things, all this type of stuff. And so this birth certificate specifically, until you've authenticated it and you have rights to it, and all that, meaning that you can use that money. You can actually use that because you realize it is money, because it really is. It really is. They just don't know that you're going to wake up to that fact. They just don't know you're going to wake up to that fact. Okay. So the whole thing about this, when you authorize and authenticate it, apostle, so you become an apostle. You become an apostle. And then even beyond, you become authoritative. The author, you become directly connected with the author. They don't want you to realize this because that's exactly what it is. And so it is Yeshua cleansing Rome. It is by us taking our power and our liberty back, by us saying we're secured party creditors. Not only do we change the way that life is being lived here, but we eradicate all the toxic people because we have transformed and done the due diligence, and we have the proper good standing, that we're standing upright, that we are not the debtors, but now the creditors. Okay, this whole process is this. All right, so the birth certificate is directly connected, and that communicates, because the corporation has this now, because the federal means DC. Okay, then there's the state, then there's the local, unincorporated. All right, local is unincorporated. So then that's how you know that you're a free living being, is that the local is unincorporated. Okay, and they want to incorporate everything else. So then when you participate in that, consent to that, contract to that, you pay taxes as a franchise because you're participating in that. But what happens when you get a business and just do through the business or the trust specifically, and you just borrow from the trust's value? You go and borrow against the trust value. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. All right. So the process is that you authorize this, authenticate this, and then that will communicate to the federal and beyond that you are a secured party. You're a secured party creditor. And a secured party creditor is someone who was a gladiator. It's the same thing. It was someone who was a gladiator, who did everything for them, like who literally did everything for them. Like they participated in their games. They participated in work. They participated in taxes. They participated in bread and circuses and beer and not revolting, watching games and all. Like they came from the matrix, bro. They came from the matrix. They came from the illusion of separation. They came from that. They came from separation, realized the illusion of separation, became into oneness, into unison, into unity, and then realized themselves, actualized themselves. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. So doing this process, you never have to do this process again, which is also instating and entitling your nobility, your freedom, that you have beneficiary power, and you can transform and do a lot of these different things. You can pay people to help you. You can, et cetera, et cetera. But that's what I'm saying, is like there's such a development to this. And I'm going to get into a bunch of different stuff on here because, and I'm going to keep going into these videos. I'm going to jump in for hours and I'm going to get questions from you guys. Hey, did you guys like this video? Hey, what do you think about this video, et cetera. But ultimately, you guys have to see that, like, this is exactly what I'm saying. And so, and then too, when you do a private birth record, it's also, you can monetize that. You can put them on notice and put that as you can do that with the treasury, your own private, and that can become monetary value because you've established that notice. You've put a third tertiary party on notice. And that means that there's a witness. So when there's three parties, that's also what authenticating is. So when I authenticate for Ethiopia, it means I can go to Ethiopia. America knows that I am a living being. It's a triunity. It's 3-in-1 contract where 2 or 3 are gathered here in my name. There I am. I am is unity. It's oneness. Okay. It's I-manity. It's I-Ethiopia. It's einity, which is unity, but it's einity. It's not you. It's I. It's all here. See, but people, they sleep on that fact that, like, yo, everything that will ever really truly exist is right here. Right here. Because all this can change. This is effervescent. This is forever essence. Okay? This is bioluminescence. All right? transcendence of our bioluminescent field is also a physical expression, alchemicalization, a spiritual expression of how powerful that we are, how transformative that we are. Okay, because the more vibrational resonance that we emit, the more that we won't accept contracts that are going to try to permeate that field, dilute or pollute that field. And also we're going to attract higher vibrational things into our life that are also going to advance that bioluminescent field because of its expansion, evolution, elevation, and enlightenment that comes. There's more light being brought into the body via breath work, via healing, via fasting, all these different types of things. All right. So let's kind of get into this. Spartacus, he revolted and he rebelled. You know, he's a rebel with the cause. He's a rebel with the cause. And so like they did try to pull a lot of sly contracts just because they're Romans, just because they were a specific type of way. And this is exactly what I'm saying is like they'll change the location, you know, they'll have like eagles and all these things, and then that's directly connected to, you know, false, you know, governments and stuff like this. It's directly connected to all of that and private stuff and things off book. Think Men in Black. All right. And the whole process of this is directly connected to this. Okay. The whole process is like, all right, so I get a birth certificate, and once I authenticate that, I apostille and authenticate that, then ultimately I'm set. All right. And then I can access those funds and settle the account at any time, meaning that everything is technically already paid for. So people would say everything's free. No, because everything is paid for, meaning implying that everything's not free, meaning someone pays, right? So the whole thing about is if someone pays, who's getting paid? Who's paying? Poor man alone will pay the price. The rich man get richer. Okay, the poor man get poorer. This is what side of the contract are you on? And so by being on the high vibrational, you know, side of the contract, the positive side of the contract, the elevation is inevitable. Okay, it's inevitable. Now, I guess some questions too is like, you know, how do you prove this? And you guys can look at the architecture. You guys can look at the 10-mile radius of DC. You can see like there's even Freemasonry all throughout America. There's Freemasonry and stuff like this connected, or it stems from like the Knights Templar. The Knights Templars also, like, you know, and you could think of Assassin's Creed and the Knights Templar and all this type of stuff that like, and then you can watch the movie Assassin's Creed and you can realize that they're realizing, you can realize with your real eyes, you can realize that they are realizing that they are from, you know, for the 1400s or 1500s truly in their DNA, because that's where they originally stem from. That's where their original seed is. And then because they actualize that light throughout their cellular body and they actually realize it through their experiences, that they synchronize with the animus. Animus meaning animal. Animus meaning animal, the animal of us, animus. And so what we're doing is it's the same being, and he just keeps living slightly different lives that are all connected to that generational line until that line is healed or realized or actualized. Then that line will be actualized or blossomed or bloomed. They will be blooming into their natural capabilities, their nationality, their indigenous availability, all this different type of cultivation. And there weren't contracts like this. And it changed. They did like different resets and different things like this. Like the Grand Canyon is original Egypt, and here Turtle Island, not America, or Amaruka, or anything like this. Okay. And it has to do with the Mers. Mer can be Mer people or Mer beings, or Moors or Mers. You guys can see it all that different way. Amaruka. Okay. And so there's so many different powerful things connected to this. And it goes all the way, stems back even back to the Anunnaki, et cetera, et cetera. And I really want to get into, this is also connected to the house of David. And I'm going to get into this as well, that like this is directly connected to like the line of the tribe of Judah. And the line of the tribe of Judah, David still slew Goliath. David, it's the exact representation that he came from like kind of nothingness. Nobody really believed in him. Nobody knew anything about him. And he didn't really have a purpose. All of his other brothers were doing, you know, cool things. He was just tending to sheep, you know, tending the sheep, you know, and ultimately became anointed, and then all these other different things. And there's so many things that go on, but we don't see like the actual timelines of it. We don't see what the cultivation is of it, that there are giants in that time. So there's probably different technologies in that time too that were diluted, polluted, demonized, you know, because history is only written by the winners. And so if it looks like, oh, these people are winning at this time or whatever, it also means that they could, at the turn of the tide, you see what I'm saying? Like there's flip contracts, like it could be even better. Okay. So at certain periods of time within like the firmament, there's different realms, there's different existences, there's different light frequencies that are here. So as it gets brighter, you must get brighter, you must brighten with it. And so that's exactly what it is the new coming is that there's going to be a big flash, there's going to be a big, you know, thing that happens, and by you already being in that vibrational frequency to do it, or be with it and be in unison with it, it's going to be innate within you. All right. So the whole process of this is that you don't fall for the fear, you don't fall for anything like this. All right. Now, what else? So the coinage, obviously those were tax collectors and all these other different things. They were money changers. They changed the money in private. They and two, by flipping the money changers, by flipping all these different things, it's what he's making a claim that he's and he's claiming while he's doing it is that like I have already there's so many people who are already in knowledge to this, and you don't even acknowledge this, and that's why he's so angry. There's so many people in knowledge to this. They are in gnosis. They get this, that they are free living beings. Okay, and consent and contract. They have a soul contract here on earth that they're to respect nature. Okay, and so that is ultimately the first thing that you do. And the main thing of what you're going to do too as well is while you set yourself up, people might try to gaslight you or project or try to make you not believe it. And it's important that you don't take that bait, because it's just rage bait anyways. Okay, they want to make you rage and they want to bait you to rage. Rage out, all right? All right, so let's keep going. So Roman America, you know, it's a trust. So the main process of this is, I'm going to get into this like, because I do it in 5 easy topics. It's really, really easy. And I also have like a way to be able to establish this and whatnot. But first and foremost, you'll find a tribe. I'll put it at the bottom though. Okay, first and foremost, you want to authenticate birth certificate. Or specifically CLLB, which is certificate of live birth, as well as you want to get the passport and do the passport the right way. Do correctly with an explanatory statement. You need the explanatory statement. Explanatory. All right. Then from there, you're going to have the proper status, and that's going to be able to last you 10 years. During that 10 years, you can authenticate the birth certificate if you haven't done that, but do that first. If you know, then too, you can find a tribe. Find a tribe that will take you, find a ministry, find a private trust or private ministry. So this is where you develop the trust and stuff, but ultimately you want to go through the Secured Party Creditor process, Secured Party process, okay? And the 928 papers. 928 papers, all right? So these are like the main things that you want to do. Once you're here, you're set. And two, you can also, because you're with the Secured Party Creditor process, you're going to do a trust or a declaration of trust anyway. So you're going to have a trust. And when you have a trust, you can establish this yourself. You don't need someone to do it for you. Okay. You just have to do it right and correctly. And two, with this is this trust is ultimately going to have a ministry ministry within it, a private ministry, a 508c1a ministry. And that's going to be within that trust. That trust is going to be private. That private trust is also going to be able to, have a home, let's say like Cayman Islands or whatever. And you could receive payments through Wise, stuff like this. Okay. But yeah, you'll find your tribe. Secure Party Creditor process, 928 papers. That's what you're going to be doing. And so what are you doing when you do this? So this is ultimately saying to all different beings, public or private, that you have collected your hubris. Okay. Or there's a certain term where when you're a gladiator and you get a sword with all your victories on it, and that is a sign of your freedom. That is a sign of your freedom. Okay. And you would have to carry that around all of the time. You couldn't ever be parted from it. You couldn't be parted from it, or they think that you're a slave. So the whole thing about this is that you authenticate the birth certificate. It's the same thing like that, to communicate to these Roman people, Roman capitalist people. Okay. The next thing is passport. You want to tell them, I'm not any of these things. I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm not a U.S. resident. The IRS refers to me as a non-resident alien. I don't have a specific location. I'm a man upon the land by natural birthright. I'm a Californian. All these things like this. All right. So you're going to use certain things like this and use certain codes, and that's the passport. Okay, for that process. All right. Now you're going to get your thing and you're going to expedite it. Okay. That's going to be like $300. And so you're going to expedite that, and $300 for 10 years. That's fantastic. So now you have 10 years and you have the proper jurisdiction. So technically you wouldn't need registration. You wouldn't need a license. You wouldn't need to publicly go with, the DMV or any of these things, get insurance. But I would say have, 1099A forms, 1099C forms, and other things like this in your glove compartment, as well as maybe having your own private insurance or whatever, having a surety bond over the car, whatever. Like, there's different things that you can do, securing the party. All right. So Secured Party Creditor, you're going to go through like the F56 form. You're going to go through the W8 bin form. You're going to go through all these different types of things. And because this is going to free you from like taxes and all these other different things, because you have the proper thing. Two, with the authenticated birth certificate, now that's proven. With the passport, that's proven. And now with the IRS, with the government, all these other different people, that's proven. The 928 papers, you're going to get a private ID and a private thing. So this is private. So now that you're private, you not only have a private ID, so that proves that you're private because you have a private ID. The passport is a public private ID. It's communicating to the public, so it's for the public to communicate to public officials, policy officers, policy officers, politicking officers. So it's for the courts, it's for anybody in the public, all right? To communicate that you're private because you have the proper explanatory statement, that you have the proper amount of stars, you have the proper amount of risk, which I do believe that the stars do mean something. Do I think that I think it's a spectrum, and I think that there's levels to it. And I don't think people have been willing to hear me out yet. So I have videos on it. I know what I believe about the stars, but I do know them to mean something. But I also know them to mean something, but people are asleep to the fact of what spectrum is. So that's the main thing. All right. So ultimately it's going to communicate that, do not detain, do not arrest, unless you have a viable warrant. This is a constitutional living man upon the land. This is not a 14th Amendment citizen. Let them go, let them pass, and you'll show them your passport. You're not going to have a driver's license. They're just going to say, have a nice day. Just they're going to make a suggestion or whatever. That's it. All right. So you as a secure party now too is if anybody, and two, some people have like problems with credit, or some people have problems with getting business funding, or some people have problems with cash flow, or some people have problems with understanding or development. I wouldn't say it's understanding or any of these things. It's easy to make money nowadays. It's easy to get really smart in a short period of time nowadays, and a multitude of stuff like this. And so really it's just about doing it and making the effort. That it might feel long for the first year, but if you do it for a year or two and you get yourself super far ahead, you're never going to have to do that work ever again. You're never going to have to do that work ever again. That's buying back your time. And then you're going to have more knowledge, more gnosis. That's also going to help you in the spiritual realm, because they set these contracts and flip contracts up similarly to the way that they realize and do things. Okay. So let's talk about this. So when you authenticate, you have the passport, and then 2, you can have a tribe, so you can join a private tribe. So that's what I'm saying is like there are Moors and or Moorish and stuff like this. There's so many different things. Okay. And I know that there's differences to all of them. And 2, but yeah, find your tribe. Or 2, you can make your own private trust, which you're already going to have a trust, and you can make your own private emblem, and you can make your own private trust ID connected to your ministry, which has, and then you can have a QR code, which has all the ministry codes, all these other different types of things that are directly connected. That proves I'm a minister. This is a private automobile, a private conveyance. I don't need seatbelts. Because that's all before. I don't technically need to drive with a seatbelt. I don't technically need to do anything, because those are all statutes, limitations, codes. I am a constitutional citizen. I have rights. Okay, so it's all connected to the Bill of Rights and constitutional rights. All right, and so that's the main thing, is that you develop rights, that you have more rights, because rights are your right. But don't step out of that. Don't give your birthright up to step into the statutes, their limitations. They're telling you it's limited. They're telling you they're limiting you. That's what they're saying. And so when you are in your own private jurisdiction, this is the main thing too. So then people are like, all right, so how old am I going to have to be to make this happen? Dude, if you're like 25, maybe 22, 21, 18, I know a lot of you guys. I either have worked with you guys, or I've just met you guys, stuff like this. I came up with you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The main thing about this is that when you do this, like I said, you never have to do it again. But the thing about this too, as well, is when you step into this, you're going to have different EINs, different business numbers, you're going to have the proper, example of this to be able to when I show you guys the passport, when I show anybody a passport, it keeps me in the right jurisdiction. It doesn't put me in the wrong jurisdiction. It always keeps me in the right jurisdiction. Okay, it has a surname. It's not a legal name. It's a surname. So meaning a surname, meaning a living being, meaning a sir, someone who's knighted. So that's why you say sir. I'm a Sir House, and I did it properly. So they're going to give you a surname anyways, because a living being. But that living being, if they contract it as somebody who's not a living being, that's what they're saying. I'll take my living rights, and I'm not gonna have no rights. I'm gonna take that, and I'm just not gonna believe in it. So that's what they're saying. And so, but if someone's like, no, I do have these rights, and I'm not gonna subjugate myself to those types of things. That's also the thing. And you might be coming out, you might be healing from certain jurisdictions. You might be like coming out of Admiralty jurisdiction. You used to be lost at sea, or you used to think that you were lost at sea, but you're not really ever lost at sea. They just try to get you or your parents to consent for you through that type of thing. So the whole process of this is that we find a ministry. So I'm a minister, so I'm a Rastafarian minister. Okay. And that's the way that I would say that I cultivate, as well too, is preaching Christ. All right. And then as well as living in your tribe is proving that you're private. And then as well, you need to just come into funds. You just need to develop financial aspects. So you have a trust. So get a life insurance policy, and get that life insurance policy with that 98 number. Get that 98 number life insurance policy, and get any of your other public ones, and put those ones still in the trust. Okay. And that's what I'm saying is acquiring assets. People don't think of life insurance as an asset. So I'm saying, like, there's so many assets around us. There's so many assets around us with the trust to be able to put things into that trust. And this is what I'm saying is like, so many people are asleep to this, or people will just want to argue about it. People just want to argue about it all day. They want to say they're 10 cents or whatever. Dude, I would just say do it. Figure out what works for you. Figure out what works best for you, and stop worrying about how other people are living their life or not living their life, or trying to control how someone else lives their life. just do you live your life to the best of your ability, because you're the only one who can live your life to the best of your ability, unless you want someone to control you to tell you how to live your life to the best of your ability. Do you want that? No. So why would you inflict that exact thing upon others? The whole thing about this is that we eradicate that we demolish that we dissolve that, and we see even deeper, we see even farther, we see even wiser, we see even wider. Okay, we depth in our perception. And then the process of this is that you're living in a clear, proper jurisdiction. And so the clear, proper jurisdiction is communicating this. So anybody, judge or justice or magistrate is really what they are, and things like this. But it's also just a trust. It's three people. You would need a prosecutor, which would be an executor. You would need a beneficiary, and you would need a trustee or trustor. There's so many different types of things that are interconnected to this, to opening certain cases. And so this is what I'm saying, is that you have to, by you knowing what you're doing, it's going to elevate you to such a level that you never knew you were going to be elevated to. Same with financially. You didn't think that you were ever going to make this amount of money. Like you were fine with making 10K a month. I know that sounds like crazy, but like you were fine with making 10K a month. As long as you make 10K a month, you're good. But you're going to be making 10K days, 15K days, 30K days. And so this is what I'm saying is like you're stepping into a heightened ability to be able to develop yourself and grow yourself, evolve who you are. And so when you start to process this on a big level, you can elevate who you are. You can buy back all your time, pay back all your employees, develop who you are as a being, and you're all privatized. And so this is what and then you can start to develop generational lines that you can produce, plenty of heirs, and they're all going to be beneficiaries of this exact trust through their life insurance indemnity bond. They're going to get a percentage of that trust, and then it's going to be able to create a waterfall method, and everybody who's within the trust will get a life insurance indemnity bond, which will be a private birth record, versus a public one, which is getting you in bed with a corrupt corporation that are developed around satanic pedophilia and cannibal worship. So I want to talk about this Canaan. So Canaan is Cain and Abel. So cannibal. So Cain and Abel. So Cain killed Abel. And this came to me last night because I was watching The House of David, the movie or the show, and I love it. It's fantastic. It just came out in 2025. It's 2026 now. Still feel like it came out yesterday, but ultimately it's saying like Cain and Abel. What is a cannibal? First of all, Ball is you got like that's I don't want to talk about all this stuff, at a house, whatever, but I'm just saying like cannibal means what? Why did Cain kill Abel? To eat him. So that's why people don't necessarily know that. They keep that out of the books. They keep that out of the text. They keep that out of the media. They don't want to tell you that, but that's exactly what it is. A cannibal. It's because because why? Because we already know the story. So, and then Cain, or the people from Canaan, are of the tribe of Cain. That's why it's cannibal, and it's people who eat, Abel, and it's all about like Baal worship. It's so weird. Give me one sec. All right, so I just want to let you guys know that, and that's been on my mind too. And so that's why they need these flip contracts. That's why they need flip contracts like this, so they can participate in stupid like rituals like that. They can participate in evil things because they need someone's consent. They need a pure person's consent, and they don't care whether that consent comes from you knowing or not knowing. If you consent to it via your writing, via your signature, you're signing over your nature. Signature. You're signing over your nature. So I'm saying is like when you also sign your nature and you put 1-308, now you're telling him I'm signing my nature on this, but I'm reserving my nature for me. And I'm just letting you know I recognize you and I see right through you. I see right through your ways. I see right through the behaviors that you do, all these other different types of things. And now I see right through. I know exactly what you are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you're mad probably that I see through you as well. And stuff like that. So it's all about that type of mindset that we start to evolve. We start to transcend. We're an hour in, y'all. Okay, so I'm going to switch it out. We're going to keep going. I'm going to keep going because I just want to definitely keep going in this. All right. So I was studying last night and I'm going to go to Notion. I'm going to go to Notion because I put it on here. I put it on here, all my notes for you guys. Okay, we're going to new page. It was on here somewhere. Edit current clips. It's on here somewhere. Sorry for the delay, guys. But it ultimately says Rome owns you until you operate properly. We're going to go to studio. Dang, I literally had it on here. It's crazy. It's on my other phone. Well, during this time, you guys can fast forward this, but I'm gonna teach you guys. So we're gonna go to Notion again. I got so many topics. I literally have so many topics on here. I know I'm an hour and you guys can speed up, like I said. I want to like see where my history is or something so I can just go back because I was just working on it. Oh, there it is. Boom, got it. All right, I'm gonna edit. I'm gonna Boom, I got it. Okay. Let's title it Rome. All right, so now we're going to get into this, all right? All right, so Rome and Julius Caesar, okay? Rome and Julius Caesar, Spartacus, Yeshua the Christed One, bonds, trusts, the Sesticave Trust of what? 1666. Interesting. Romanus Pontifex. This was the first person who started doing contract law and stuff like this. Attorney Regis. So Regis is registry. Attorney is an attorney. So through law, they want to register you. Convocation. Okay. 666 in 1666 Sesticave trusts. Real estate. Personal property. That's what you're giving up. You're giving up your souls. They want to collect baptism. They believe that, so unum sanctum is like that. They own you pretty much through express trusts of the birth certificate. They own the soul. They own the title to your soul. So this is why we are to become a secured party creditor, because we used to be lost out at sea with admiralty jurisdiction. We're considered an incompetent dead entity or corporation or corpse. These are priests of Baal. These are priests of Baal. The Hermetica. So this is why we study the Hermetica of Hermes, is because this is the Hermes Trismegistus is 3 in 1. An anointed one with wings on Dow's wings on his forehead. This is why I get tattoos. So I could show you guys wings on the forehead. All right. Let's get the right lighting. With the onk and everything. All right. So then worldwide resets. They have worldwide resets. Think about Constantine in 325 AD. All this type of stuff was that he was rewriting books. King James rewriting books. What is the number one thing that God said? Don't rewrite stuff. So it's to confuse you. Okay. And I'm just here to spit the facts. I don't even care. Book Babylon's Bankers. So check out Babylon's Bankers. Check out the book Babylon's Bankers. Okay. Rome, taxes. That's where all that type of stuff was created. Why would we throw tea into the freaking, and all this type of stuff, the Boston Tea Party, for over a small percentage of tax. And now we're being super out taxed and nobody's saying nothing. It's because you've been docile. You have been told to be just sit still, be a robot, don't speak up about it. Don't talk about it. Shut up about it. You're an idiot. Go get a job. They'll tell you any one of these things. It's set up for you to fail, though. It's set up for you to fail because when you participate in the system more, it creates more opportunities for you to be failed by that same system because the system is a failure. Okay. Becoming a secure party creditor is the way to step out of the system, the way to settle the accounts. I'm just here to settle the accounts. Like if you have $30,000, $50,000 in so-called debt, and you become a secure party creditor, you could settle that because I'm the executor of this trust and the beneficiary of this trust. This is exactly where I want it to go. I ultimately have cultivated the right proper, standing, and so this is exactly you're in proper standing. Not having to pay the U.S. corporation's debt because you're not a U.S. citizen, you're not a U.S. resident, so you don't have to pay taxes. You're not a voter, you don't need to vote because you don't participate in the illusion of choice, and you don't want to. You're not a registrant, you're not a regis, you're not an attorney. All those things are public. Attorney, stuff like that. What you are, if you are an attorney at all, you're private. You're a private attorney. Okay, and with in good standing. Okay, all rights reserved. With all rights reserved, you're a living being. Those beings are priests of Baal and stuff like that. Saturnalia. Okay, it's all connected ecclesiastically. So all bird's eye views. Check out the bird's eye view of the 10-mile radius of DC. There's also a bird in that 10-mile radius known as an owl, which is an all-seeing being. It can move its head in 360 degrees. And so it sees all around. It's all-seeing eye participating right there. So it's those types of being who are working right there. Okay, and then they're working within those different types of places. Okay, those different types of places, and they'll try to burn or reset or cleanse or other cities, try to make you forget, try to make you docile, all these different types of things. And geometry, end of Kali Yuga. So this is end of Kali Yuga. So this is the main thing. Kali Yuga ended a little while ago, but ultimately this means that we are being initiated into Satya Yuga, which is the golden age of enlightenment. We're starting to wake up to the fact of everything, and then we're going to cleanse everything. We're going to like properly do it. And this is the raising of the chrism. This is being one in Christ, like facts. That's just the facts. It's the age of Aquarius. Yeshua is the age of Pisces and the fish. And ultimately, in the age of Aquarius, it's going to be around that. So age of Aquarius is proven already. The end of Kali Yuga is proven already. And so they've already mathematically already associated with this. So there's literally new beginnings happening, and it's 11111 on the dot right now. And so I'm just super, super grateful to be able to convey this new earth message. 3 cities, though, DC, London, Vatican, and 2, you can even connect it to a multitude of different things. I don't even have to get all into it. But it all connects to Egypt. It all connects to Anunnaki. It all connects to different bloodlines and stuff like this. Okay, kingdom of heaven is within. This is what we're told. The wars with Spartacus, okay, this is, will show you, so if you guys watch Spartacus, this will show you what crucifixions look like. Crucifixions, people don't even know, but it's that they have figured out a certain amount of Freemasonry. I'm just going to say how it is. They figured out, you know how like a blacksmith would learn how to create a sword or spear, a spearhead, an arrowhead, chip away certain things, and all these, that takes skill. Freemasons are just trying to use different types of skills, systems, pulleys, levers to try to leverage certain things over people. And so they figured out a way of how to you know, silence people and kill people or whatever. And they would do this through like crucifixion. It's the most cruel way. And it's suffocating ruach or wind or air or the spirit from the body. And this is exactly what they did to the Christ, Yeshua the Christ. And so, but he ultimately, because he's commanding of his spirit, he's one with the spirit, he's one in the spirit, he was able to bring the spirit back into the body. And 2, because his disciples, the people who are disciplined about knowledge and gnosis of the body, of like how to put this body into, you know, how to put these things back together, etc. Then 2, they would put herbs, spices, myrrh, you know, sage, stuff like this, purities, purifiers, frankincense, myrrh, gold, just like what he was given by 3 magi, not 3 kings. That was rewritten. 3 magi, and they were probably kings too, but yeah, they were magi. They followed astronomy and astrology, and that's just wicked and bad now. That's crazy. It's on the first page of the first column of the first book of the Bible, Genesis, talks about it. Okay, so crucifixions are also meaning amplification 1,000-fold. So they figured out a way to amplify the body 1,000-fold to suffocate. That's why you feel, okay, so 10 by 10 by 10. Okay, see what I'm saying? So suffocation of the ruach spirit. So a fugitive is somebody who's on the run, who's still owned by somebody, but not technically claimed their estate yet. And so, but 2, that being has recognized what freedom really is, but maybe not has cleared their name or whatever. And so they can still have their own free name if they really want, because of their knowledge. Risk score on the passports. We already talked about the stars, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, going private. How do we free ourselves? A lot of people ask the question, how do we free ourselves from the system of enslavement and make a living and a life? How do we do that? First and foremost, it's by stepping into our power to be able to realize that like it's not far off from us being able to free ourselves. It's just that you are just used to participating in it. And so once you just decide to stop participating in it, you just want to find the ways of like, how can I swipe my card when I go eat without affecting myself? How can I make enough money without having to go to a job? How can I do that? You have to live in a certain level of freedom. And so like, that's really what it is. And so once you get there, and it might take you a year or 2 to get there, to develop your basis, your groundation, but then God's leading you all along the way, is already with you, empowering you, all this stuff. All right. Excuse me. Confirmation, Bert, hiccups, everything. So like I said, you're a slave or a gladiator, and then you're ultimately going to get your rudis or your hubris, or you're going to get your rudis. And so your rudis, or it's something like this, where you get like a sword, a wooden sword, and it tells them. So when you authenticate and authorize the birth certificate, apostle, and authenticate it, you're telling them, I'm an apostle, and I'm also authoritative over this, okay, over this being. The spirit within me is greater than anything that this physical vessel can handle anymore. That's what I'm saying. So it's a certain level to where like you have controlling interest in yourself now. You have controlling interest in who you are now. Not Rome doesn't have that anymore. You just put them on notice. They're just the witness of it, or they're just someone who is the trustee to do all the stuff for you. That's all it is. You're putting everyone in the proper jurisdiction. They were trying to get some flip contracts on you, but then you reflipped them. Okay, Caesars and games. They like games. Magistrates, judges, justices. They're magistrates. They're magistrates. They try to set the magic straight. They want to confuse you through media. Media meaning Medea, or the goddess of illusions. The goddess of illusions, of separation. So they're going to show you illusions. They're going to show you all these different things on the tell lies to your visions, on the televisions. They're going to tell you all that type of stuff, and they're going to watch matrix revolutions. You have day by day habits over and 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 over again, always, all the time. You do meaningless stuff daily. Like it's crazy. And you realize this, give them games and circuses, and they will never revolt. This is Rome. And two, if you fatten them up, if you let them watch games, if you let them watch football, if you let them watch baseball, if you feed them beer, if you give them, fake foods, if you poison their DNA, if you genetically modify their DNA, all these different types of things, let's make them docile. That's what they say. They'll make them docile, domesticated for self-destruction and self-sabotage. Give them depressants, so then they don't ascend in their frequency, but they're depressed in their frequency and their vibration. Okay, and everything's vibration. That's a universal law. We know this. Drugs, give them drugs throughout food, fill food with poisons, don't engineer havoc, provide false flags, create fear, stuff like this. They're going to try to do stuff like this. And the whole reason why is because this is exactly what Rome does. That's exactly what Rome does. It's exactly how Rome survives. And so watch Spartacus, study Spartacus. It's on Netflix, watch Spartacus, and like there's a lot of nudity. Watch it by yourself, and skip through those parts too. Skip through the nudity and all that other stuff. There's a real message being conveyed, and that's why there's a severity of the actual stuff going on, because that's how they dilute it, is that they will play like crazy Roman stuff. They'll put Roman stuff in there, like orgies and all these weird things like that, is because that's what Roman culture is. That's what cannibalism is. That's what all that type of stuff is that they're okay with killing cows and pigs and all these other different types of things. All these things as well will make you more subject to the fact, or want you to contract to eat other types of things, such as a person, and all these different types of things. It's freaking weird. It's freaking weird. And so like you have to see the development of who you are. And so when you start to realize this, you can claim your estate back. So you reclaim your estate. You're your own being. You have your own land. You have your own rights, your own land patents, your own ownership, or your trust owns it. And that trust can be just passed down to your family, all through your family, and it's structured a proper way. You also have life insurance. So life insurance is the way that you're going to do banking, and the way that you're going to get credit, and you're going to just do it through your 98 number rather than through your social security number, through any of these things. So listen to this. You're not going to be doing any of your DMV stuff. You're going to do the only DMV paperwork you're going to do is to surrender your license or stop registering. You're going to do non-operational on all of your vehicles. Just say that you sold it, because you did. You sold it to your trust, and your trust is private, and it doesn't need to re-register to something public because it's private and it has its own standing in law, in better law, with more rights, with more good standing, with more realness, more reality than ever. And then you can acquire stuff like that. Those things create non-taxable events, untaxable things, because you're just borrowing from it and paying back the loan, borrowing from it, paying back the loan. Life insurance goes back to pay back the loan. It's a waterfall method. It's a cyclical method. It is literally a perfected method that has been proven that that's how families last. And then it doesn't have to be these corrupt beings who try to use it against you, but it could be you who has a really genuine heart, a heart after a man after God's own heart, walking the path that you came from, literally being docile and dumb and defected and all these things, and that you were a clone. You were born in as a regular clone, and then you were a bad batch, bro. You were a bad brat. You were a bad batch. You came out of Bad Batch and you were like, whoa, this is truly who I am. I'm a part of the Bad Batch that, like, they didn't get me. They couldn't keep me contained. They couldn't clone me, that I am my own being, that I stand out and I'm my own living being. Lawful living being, a man upon the land. Okay. So it's all about this. And then 2 is what I'm saying. So what's the next thing as a man? So, like, what's the next thing as a man? So you're done with this. Let's say that you're done with this at 25, 27, 28, 30. You're done with this by 30, or way before 30. It doesn't matter. So say you're starting this at 18 or 20. I would say start this at 18. Start this as soon as possible. Start this the day that you turn age of majority. Literally, I'm not joking. Literally not joking with you guys. Not kidding. Seriousness, all seriousness. Okay. So the main thing of what you want to do is, so say you're done by 30 and you get it by 30 or whatever. You're going to have all your credit cards or any of these things, or loans or whatever, that are going to be connected. Anything that you open, any accounts that you open, businesses that you open, you're just going to operate through the business. You're just going to be the transmitting utility through the business. You're not going to have to provide your social. You're not going to have to provide your driver's license. You're not going to have to provide these things, because those things are telling you that those are public corporations. Those are public systems meant for you to consent to those types of things. All right, y'all. Peace and love. Much love. Peace and love. TC, Spiritual Shepherd. You know what it is. Back with another one. I hope you guys enjoy this. All right. I hope you guys enjoy this. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you for hanging out with me for 1 hour and 23 minutes and 45 seconds. We are just elevating. We're taking those steps on the journey to become better and better and cultivate ourselves to a level that is unreachable, unfathomable, incorruptible, indestructible, invincible, unstoppable. Okay. It's something that is far beyond. It's crystalline version. It's the Christ all disciplined version within us. Peace and love, y'all. See you guys in the next.